Conquering My Scrap with Brenda. I'm Brenda, and we're here today with another episode of Quilt Bingo, and we are doing minis. Yes, minis. I just love doing minis, and this one we have again as beginner, intermediate, or hard, and I'll show you what the intermediate and hard blocks look like later, but today we're going to be working on minis. I'm going to try and give you as many tips as I can about working on minis, especially this cute little block. I believe it's called Fancy Pinwheel, but it is just really simple to do, and it will teach you so much about your 1/4 inch seam and all the other little tricks and tips that you need to do minis. So this is going to be fun. But before we get too sidetracked on what we're doing here today, the cutting instructions are going to be in the PDFs, are going to be in the show notes below, so make sure you get into those show notes. It's very, very important you get in there. Krista Quilts is on our radar. Now, she does all sorts of fun stuff with her YouTube channels. You guys got to go check her out if you haven't checked her out already. So, and hit that subscribe button for her. Now, also share, like, and subscribe our channel with your quilting friends if they haven't already done so. We would love to continue bringing you free fun projects like this to get through your mountain of scraps that you've probably got in your sewing room. Also hit the thumbs up and the bell. There's a bell that goes on so you don't miss contact. Also, making comments. We love hearing from you, and even if it's got a heart, that helps drive our analytics forward so that we can, our videos get reviewed by more people, right? So then we can continue bringing you these fun free patterns and crazy ideas and all this stuff. Our next sew along, once Quilt Bingo is done, we're going to maybe do a couple other things, just random things. And then we're going to do start Twinkle Twinkle. It is going to be a scrap buster. And yes, it's labor intensive again, but hopefully we'll have enough fun with it that we won't mind so much having this, another crazy sew along going on. We also have a Facebook group, and the Facebook group has a virtual sewing room hosted by Discord for the members of the Facebook group. We have all sorts of fun in there, and there's, numerous community chats. We have some beautiful photos being put in by people. It's just like we do all this kind of same thing other Facebook groups do, but we also have all these community chats, and we do fabric exchanges by country just to keep the cost of the postage down. Also, I speak for free, and my first speaking engagement talks about elements of design, working with scrap fabric, and of course making charity quilts. The second one talks about something else. It's a surprise. It is a surprise, and it should be ready by the end of December 2025. So if your group or guild has heard from me once, I'm going to try and prepare another speaking engagement for you for free that you can book for after December 2025, right? So we're just trying to have some fun with the guilds, and I get so inspired by the members in those guilds and quilting groups. It's amazing how those people are just like so talented and so wonderful. Also, shout outs. Send me your shout outs. It's very important you send me your shout outs, because I'm spending my time in the sewing room, and sometimes I get to get on there and get to look at what other people are doing on YouTube, but mostly I don't have the time. So if you can send me shout outs for people that are doing having some fun in their sewing room, I'd be happy to give them a shout out for you. But don't tell them it's coming. Don't tell them. It's kind of fun to sneak around and do something nice for somebody when they don't expect it. Now, both either for the speaking engagements or the shoutouts, you can contact me through email, or you can send me a message on your Facebook Messenger, and I'll be happy to get back to you on that. Yeah, we have so much fun with those shoutouts. I always think it's a nice little boost for somebody, like, wow, somebody's recognizing me for working hard. Also, we have Zoom sew dates in the show notes below. Gotta get in there. It's 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. I'm in Alberta, Canada, and we just have a blast in those Zoom sew dates. And if you don't have anything to sew, bring another craft that you're working on. It's fine. So I think we're done. Yes, we're done. So come on in. Let's get to the sewing of Quilt Bingo minis, and this one's called the Fancy Pinwheel. Okay, first off, you're going to need a squaring up ruler to do minis, and a rotary cutter, and a cutting mat. But let's get to the sewing first. Okay, now this I cut with my add a easy angle ruler, and I'm just going to lay these out the way they're supposed to be, just so you can kind of see where everything goes. And I decided to play, yes, I've added green, because I keep running into leaves and whatnot, and I'm like, I have no green. Okay, let's get this light on. And now, with the adequate, or the easy angle ruler, I have done a demo. You take a 2-inch strip, in this case, you take a 2-inch strip, and you would cut your triangles out of there, and basically then you just wiggle and whatnot, line them up, take your time lining them up. You cut 2 at a time, so you put your low volume right side up, and then your color wrong side up, so the right sides are touching, and you can cut all your triangles out in like a heartbeat. And they're ready, they're stacked up and usually ready to sew. So that's always really nice, really handy to have. You know, because this doesn't take, I played around with them, I probably dropped them. And that's why they need a little bit of a lining, but they're very, very cute. Now, when you're working with minis, there's, well, like anything else, right? When you're working with minis, you're either going to mess up on the cutting, right? The sewing, where your 5/4 is too thick or too skinny or something, right? You're going to mess up on the cutting, because you're going to make your pieces either too big or too small, or the ironing. And oh my goodness, can ironing do a lot of damage very quickly to a mini if it's not done by pressing, not ironing, right? There's a big difference. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to cut all of these just like so. Now, I am going to take that last one off. There we go. There. There. Now, all of them are stacked with the color side up. Now, first thing I'm going to do, oops, is I'm going to trim off the dog ear. Even before I open this thing up, I'm just going to trim it off. Now, I trim at a steeper angle than 45 degrees. So if you can see, this with the easy angle ruler is 45. This is mine, where I just cut. And it's a little steeper, and all I'm doing is reducing bulk in that seam, right? Because when you add, especially when you're doing pinwheels, you know, there's like 8 pieces of fabric that are coming together, and, you know, it's bulky. It gets bulky very quickly. Now, all right. There we go. There. So now that we got all that done, all of that is now done, then I'm just going to finger press these open. Now, I have a tendency to always sew my pinwheels the same way, just because that's the way I was taught to do it. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm saying just that's the way I put them together, actually. You know, just like that. And all right, just like so. I am going to open the rest of these up, and I'm going to show you something here in a minute. Now, yeah, this quilt bingo has been a lot of fun. I have come up with some pretty cool blocks for the people that are taking the hard challenge. Now, when you're doing your pinwheel, nesting your seams is going to give you a nice point right there, like the point in the center. So take your time and nest your seam, and you're focusing your point. It's the point, not the rest of the outer edge. You want that point to match up just perfectly. So take your time doing that. And then we go down to the lower part of the pinwheel, and we match this corner. So you want to match as if the rest of the pinwheel doesn't matter except for the point. Because this way it's going to give you some nice perfect points, and you're going to go, everybody's going to go, wow, such tiny piecing, such perfect points. And you're going to go, yeah, because I cheated. So now the top part goes up, so the seam goes that way, and then the bottom seam goes the opposite direction. so we can nest, right? Now you're just going to throw that together and make sure you've got a good nest. There we go. There. Push this under your needle. There we go. Now, I like to just break that open. Now, we have a pinwheel with a perfect center. Now I'm going to show you what you have to do now. Whoops, why did that break? Oh no, something broke. Hang on, I think it's my bobbin thread. Oh. Yeah, my bobbin thread broke. Why is that? Oh well, it's so... Ew. Let me get this all out of here, because there's a bunch of lint in there. Maybe that's why it broke. I'm working with the donated thread, with some donated thread, and it's like, yeah, some of it's a bit more linty than I'm used to. But, okay, so, now, here we go. So we got the 4 half square triangles, and now we got this pinwheel. So we're going to take our pinwheel, we're going to open it up, and the way I've sewn it is that all these pieces are going to swirl this way, right? So I'm going to take this and I'm going to open it this way. And sometimes you need a bit of help from a stitch ripper, because I've left my stitches pretty close. And you want that to pop open and create a little pinwheel underneath. And it's not popping. Why is it not popping? Well, sometimes you got to pick it. I left my stitches quite tight, so that's why it's not popping nice. But I could just go, wait a minute, let's just try this. Yeah, well, I got 3 stitches. Why is it not? Wow, that's weird. Okay. So, there. It'll lie flat enough, I guess. There we go. It's not perfect, but it's flat. Flatter. And basically this is a cool way to redistribute. Let me show you one that's better. This one is better. See how that one, it swirled open, right? And so this one looks a little messy because I've been pulling at it, and I had to drag my stitch ripper out to get some points unpicked, but there it is. It's nice and flat. And basically, I have not picked the center open, but I have picked right to the center, like almost to the center. I haven't, like when I pull on this, right, this is like what the stitch, oops, this is what the center looks like now. Now, what I'm going to do, to save myself a bunch of agony and grief, I'm going to trim this to 3.5. And I'm doing it now before I try and sew it. So here's 3.5, and I'm just going to go. Ooh, there's not much to trim off. Okay, that's all right. That's okay. Can I slide? I missed it. There I go. Well, I blew it, so let's just... Okay, so let's do this. Lining it up the best you can. And there. Okay. There now. Why? Okay, wait a minute. 3.5. Okay, so you want to trim this up, and this for some reason is giving me all sorts of weird trimming things. There we go. Okay, there. Nice. So that's 3.5. Now when you're doing minis, trimming as you go is a really good idea. because you want your points to match, right? Well, I'm going to take my board back and I'm going to show you that is going to fit perfectly now with these other cut pieces, right? Now I'm going to do the same with my triangles, and I'm going to take the 45-degree line that's here on this, and I'm going to make them all there fit just so perfectly. And there we go. So that is a 2-inch, right? That's 2-inch. And let's see, maybe I can get it this way better. This way will work better. 2-inch. There we go. Ooh, that's easier. There we go. And taking your time to do this now saves you so much time later. Because now you're not worrying about, okay, can I ease in an excess? Because you don't have an excess, right? Because you don't have an excess, all your points will match perfectly. And last one. Okay, let's go this way. Because just take your time, line it up on that. Your 45-degree should line up on that 45-degree line. Okay, so let's get rid of all this stuff because we don't need it now. And let's pull back our board. So we're going to lay these out like this, and this, and this, and this. This is what they call a fancy pinwheel, right? Now we're going to sew them just like we would, you know, that whole webbing thing goes on. We're going to make sure we got a good 1/4 inch there. And when it's all fitting together like this, it just comes together so quickly. Just so nice. It's nice to sew when they're done like this. They're all trimmed up. Everything is good. You don't have any worries on easing or, well, this piece is big, I wonder why, you know. And minis need that kind of extra little attention. But now if you're doing the hard one, yes, it really does need the extra attention. There we go. And just pull that off, just like so. And move this around. Now, what I did, this one went out, and these ones went in, like so. Just like that. And now everything's going to nest the other way, right, as you're sewing. Okay, so this, like this. There we go. Now I sewed the other 3. You have to make 4 of these, right? So this is a really good one for scraps. You could use scrap colors. You could use scrap low volumes. You know, you could limit 1 low volume per square. I had enough of this low volume that I could, you know, put it in every square. So you could have a lot of fun with this one. Okay. And now we're just going to do the same thing. This gets pressed out. These get pressed in, just like so. Now, if you were to iron this with steam, I have ruined several blocks over the years with steam. I am very careful not to press with steam or very little steam. And there we go. I'm just going to trip. Yeah, if you're pressing with steam, press, don't iron, because you will distort your block if you iron, right? And you need these blocks because you're fitting them all together, right? That's very important that you fit them all together, and ironing will help. That means you go up and down with your iron, not that scrubbing motion. We shouldn't be doing the scrubbing motion for this. There we go. There. Now I just press these out that way. There we go. Now, and the other side. There we go. So I found this cute low volume. Well, it's not really a low volume. It's kind of a mid-tone low volume, or a darker low volume. And I thought, ooh, this has bits of red and bits of gold and bits of green and bits of blue. And I thought, oh, this is perfect. Just perfect. But yeah, I had to go with another fourth color. I had to go with a fourth color just to make this all work. Now, I have pressed all of these, and I think I can just sew these together the way they are. And that's what I'm going to do. So we're just going to sew them all together like a 4-patch. Right now, that gets this block together. And we're hoping everything now will work out the way it's supposed to. There we go. There. Okay, got that. Now this, I really like that yellow. A nice plaid. It's nice to add textures, all sorts of different textures to your block. It makes them more eclectic looking. There. There we go. Oops, the foot fell off. Or unscrewed. Okay. There. Now, let's get this sewn. Here we go. Go to back like that. Now, if we take our time and line this all up, there. Okay. I'm just going to cut this so I have better visibility as I'm going along here. There we go. I'll put that on top of that. Now I'm going to press one up and one down because this is the very center. And there we are. We're done. We're done our first little mini, the beginner mini. And like I say, the tips, trimming, making sure you trim, like, you know, you sew it, you press it, you trim it, right? I mean, those are all key. Trimming is probably will be doing you the biggest favor. Now, I've just swirled that center seam, so I will have a little bit of swirl going on in the middle, right, to reduce the bulk here, and let's go like that. And you can see how I press these, right? Like, all of this probably needs a little bit more pressing than I gave it to with fingers, but these will swirl this way. And then from the big pieces, right, they all go out. Right? They go away from the pineapple because that's the way they're going to push. They're going to push away from the pineapple. This is also, you know, pushed in, and then this all pushed out, right? Because, I mean, that's the way you're going to get your flattest block. And pretty much all of them are pressed the same way. So, let me give this a good press, and we'll get to our big ta-da moment. So remember, this is Quilt Bingo, and I only am doing the beginner one because I'm trying to give you guys tips on how to do the intermediate and the hard one as well. Now this one was a fancy pinwheel, and you know, the biggest tip here is to sew then trim. Sew then trim. Make sure that your half square triangles are only 2 inches square, right? But once you sew them, make sure the center here is 3.5 inches. Well, the same thing applies to the intermediate and the hard, is that, yeah, once you sew it together, trim it, make sure it's the right size, and then they sew together like a breeze. Now this one was fun to come up with and play. I probably should have used a little darker green. It would have had more definition, but yeah, everybody does that. I'm kind of like, well, I'm okay with it. I'm just starting to add the green. So this one worked out okay for me. This one is called Not Quite Flight. Now, we don't very often on this channel get to show you where color placement is really important, right? It's not often we get to show you this. So I took 4 colors, a green, a red, a gold, and a blue, and I played around with all of them. So when I cut my 4 squares out, I took all my blue pieces to make an entire square. I cut all the reds to make an entire square, right, with all the pieces, and then just jumbled them up. And you can see these are the same squares, but they don't look anything alike, right? And this is how color placement plays such an important role on how we put stuff together and what kind of effect you're going to get. And it's kind of important that you do this. So having a block like this is also really good to play around. Again, sew with your points so that you can see your points. Make sure you sew the piece and make sure it measures the right size. Those are all important with these blocks as well. Now, this one, we played with templates. We didn't give you cutting instructions. Both cutting instructions will, you know, be in the show notes below. This one is a little different. Again, we played with the green, yellow, red, and blue. And this is called the Maltese cross. I decided I didn't want the typical cross to come out. I wanted something a little different. So I decided to put my dark and my medium, my darkest medium side by side, and then leave the medium and the pale, the lightest color, not low volume, light, and we would end up with this kind of an effect, right? Which I thought was a lot more fun. Again, trim down to 3.5 inches once you finish making the little square, and make sure all your points match up good. Then you trim down to 3.5 inches. This thing sews together like a 4x4. Just very, very simple, very quick. It is a lot of pieces, though, to be handling. So that's why it's hard, right? And you're making templates and all the rest of the stuff. But you do end up with some really cute blocks. This one's also perfect for going through your crumb bin and pulling out all sorts of little pieces that you can harvest and just playing around with where you're putting your darks and your lights, right? I mean, your darks and your mediums. And you would end up with a really cool looking block as well. So I do hope you guys are giving these a try. It was a lot of fun coming up with them. I mean, you know, it was a lot of fun to do Quilt Bingo, and I'm almost finished writing all of them, but I think this is kind of a cool thing. And you guys get to know what's coming up next. You know, you're going to be working up this or that, or this will happen sometime, you know, that kind of thing. And, you know, you make your little X's is what you've done. So I do hope you enjoy this and that you have an absolutely amazing week ahead and life is treating you so very gently. Okay, and everything's going really great for you in your sewing room. So you stay well and take care until we see each other again. Okay, bye! My husband and I would like to thank you for all of your support and watching our videos and sharing and liking. It has just been, you've put us on such an amazing journey and we are having so much fun. I hope everything is going so well in your life and, you know, your 1/4 inch is perfect. Everything is working out for you. And we're just so happy to be part of your life and you having, like I say, you're watching us. I was just so thrilled that you're doing that. So I want to say goodbye and I want to thank you with all my heart. Okay? Take care. Bye.